Hey everyone, welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving straight into something truly incredible today, a really powerful reading from the biblical text. Specifically, we're looking at Psalm 56. It's this brilliant, action-packed piece of writing filled with some really big emotions, and it's got a massive lesson for us about what to do when things around us get, well, a little bit scary. So let's just jump right in.
But first, I've got to ask you something. What do you actually do when you feel afraid? I mean, think about it. Have you ever been sitting in the dark and heard a really weird noise? Or maybe you had to stand up and speak in front of your entire class, and your stomach felt like it was literally doing backflips. Look, everybody gets scared sometimes, even grown-ups. Feeling afraid is just a totally normal part of life. But the really big question is, what happens next? Where do we turn when our hearts are beating a mile a minute? Well, the biblical text we're exploring today gives us a pretty amazing answer.
Okay, Section 1, When We Are Afraid. To really wrap our heads around this, we need to meet a famous guy named David. And to understand what David was going through, we've got to look at this word, adversaries. The biblical text tells us David actually wrote this when he'd been captured by his adversaries, the Philistines, in a place called Goth. So adversaries are basically people who are against you. They're enemies who want to cause you some serious trouble. And man, David was in big trouble here. He was incredibly afraid because these adversaries were just relentlessly pursuing him. The text actually says they were pressing their attack all day long. Can you imagine that? Feeling like people are just constantly coming after you and their pride, not giving you even a single second to catch your breath? It was a really terrifying situation for sure.
Let's break down exactly how scary things were for him. Take a look at how his enemies were acting. First off, they pursued him in hot pursuit. That means they were chasing him super fast and just wouldn't give up. Second, they twisted his words. You know, have you ever said something totally normal and someone else completely changed what you meant just to make you look bad? Yeah, that's exactly what they were doing to David all day long to ruin his plans. Third, they conspired and lurked. That means they were teaming up in secret, kind of hiding out in the shadows, just waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And finally, they literally watched his steps, hoping to take his life because of their wickedness. So, yeah, this wasn't just some spooky shadow in the dark. This was real, overwhelming, in-your-face danger.
Which brings us to Section 2, Choosing to Trust Him. So what on earth do you do in a situation like that? Well, this is the massive turning point for David. Even with enemies literally hiding in the shadows and twisting his words, David says to God, "When I am afraid, I put my trust in you." Now notice what he doesn't say here. He doesn't say, "Oh, I'm never afraid because I'm just so tough." No way. He totally admits he's scared. And you know what? It is okay to feel fear. But right smack in the middle of that fear, he makes a choice. He chooses to take all that nervous, scary energy and just hand it right over to God, deciding to put his trust completely in him.
It really all boils down to a super clear choice. On one hand, you can be afraid of what mere mortals can do. And a mere mortal is just a regular human being, right? I mean, they might seem big and scary, but at the end of the day, they're just people. Or, on the other hand, you can choose to trust in God and praise His word. Think about it. God made the entire universe. He is so much bigger, stronger, and infinitely more powerful than any regular person could ever be. So when you put those two side by side, it makes total sense to choose to trust God, doesn't it?
David totally realized this, and honestly, it gave him this amazing superpower of confidence. He repeats this incredibly powerful anchor phrase in the biblical text. "In God I trust and am not afraid. What can man do to me?" Or as he also says it, "What can mere mortals do to me?" Guys, this is such a perfect phrase to keep in your back pocket. If you ever feel scared, try just saying this out loud. I mean, if you trust in the maker of the universe, what can a regular person or a scary situation actually do to you? God is protecting you, so you absolutely do not have to be paralyzed by fear.
Moving on to Section 3, He sees every tear.
Now right here, the biblical text shifts from David's bravery to God's amazing love, and it paints this beautifully comforting picture. The text actually says that God records our misery and lists our tears on His scroll. Wait, just pause and think about that for a second. A scroll is like a really important ancient book or document. When you're sad, when things go wrong, when you're so terrified that you actually start to cry, God doesn't just ignore you. He doesn't look away. He cares so incredibly much about your feelings that it's almost like He catches every single tear that falls from your eye and writes it down in His own special record. You are literally never crying alone. He sees you and He cares so deeply about whatever it is you're going through.
And because He cares so much, something pretty amazing happens when we ask Him for help. Check out this 3-step sequence. Step 1, we call out to God. Step 2, our enemies turn back. Since God is so insanely powerful, just the very act of him stepping in makes the things that scare us turn around and run right away. And step 3, we know that God is for us, not against us, not mad at us, but for us. He's on our team, defending us. By calling for help, David knew without a single doubt that God was right there fighting for him.
All right, here we are at section 4, walking in the light.
So, David mentions in the biblical text that he's under vows to present thank offerings to God. But what exactly are those? Well, thank offerings are basically special gifts given to God simply to say thank you for his help, for rescuing us, and for his incredible love. I mean, think about it. When someone does something super nice for you, you say thank you, right? You might draw them a picture or give them a giant hug. Back in David's time, they brought these special gifts to say, God, you saved me, and I am just so grateful. It's basically a way of celebrating that God is completely trustworthy.
Let's see how this all builds up to the grand finale of this psalm. It's this amazing 3-step journey of God's deliverance. First, he delivers us from death, so he keeps us safe from the absolute worst things imaginable. Second, he keeps our feet from stumbling. Imagine you're walking on a super rocky path in the pitch dark. God is like that steady hand that holds you up so you don't trip and fall flat on your face. And third, because of all that amazing protection, we get to walk before him in the light of life. We don't have to go hide in the dark shadows where the enemies lurk anymore. We get to step right out into the bright, warm, beautiful light, living our lives totally safe under his loving care.
And that brings us to the end of today's explainer, leaving us with one final, absolutely crucial question. Will you choose to trust him the next time you are afraid? Always remember, David, remember that it's totally okay to feel scared, but when those scary moments do pop up, you don't have to stay afraid of mere mortals. You can call out for help, knowing he catches every single tear, and you can boldly say, when I am afraid, I put my trust in you. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today as we unpack this incredible biblical text. Keep walking in the light, and I'll see you guys next time.